Hi, John. Hi, Alan.
Hi, everyone. How are you, Steve?
I'm good.
Is
Good
anybody,
winter.
is anyone fishing on the lake lately? It must be getting crowded, isn't it?
It was very crowded. There must have been 100 people there on Sunday.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
figured they would.
I was talking, and they're pulling some pretty big trout out.
Really?
Yeah.
I figured that sort of thing would be getting very popular because people have nothing to do for a while, you know?
Yeah, this morning about 7 o'clock, there were four sets of guys walking out there with their sleds.
Uh-huh.
And then about 7:30, there were a couple people buzzing around with the snowmobiles. So
See, I'm getting antsy to try a little ice fishing myself. I used to do it years ago, and finally there's enough ice to get out on the lake, because before it was always precarious. You never knew. There was never very much ice in the past several years. But now it looks really, it must be a foot anyhow, I would guess.
yeah, it's pretty thick. Back at the end of January, they were saying it's about 8 inches. And on top of that, we had probably about a foot of snow now.
Yeah.
So it's tough sledding out there because you sink down, and when it freezes up, there's still a pool of water between the surface freeze and the ice. So it puts a little.
I remember I fell through the ice up in Cheshire Reservoir one time because of that very same situation. What happens a lot is you'll get people will cut holes like them wells to save their fish in.
Yeah.
And then they keep the fish. Well, then it snows and then it rains and you get that sandwich, I call it. There's like a layer of slush and an inch of ice, and then there's 6 or 8 inches of ice underneath it. And if you're not careful, that hole has gotten very big. You're walking on 1 inch of ice and there's probably about a 4 or 5 foot hole there. Next thing you know, you're going for a swim,
Yeah.
A cold swim.
Cold. Yeah, the water's pretty cold, I would think.
Oh, yeah. So how's John doing?
I'm good, thank you. Got my second shot yesterday.
Yeah, I'm going for my second. I think it's the 6th of March, I believe my schedule is.
Yeah, I'm scheduled for the 11th
Are you?
for second shot. Yeah.
They say
Scheduled for the 13th.
they say it gains in resistance to the COVID day by day until you get to the 21st day, I guess. So that's good news.
Yeah, I think it
Hey,
does.
Paul. We can't hear you, Paul.
You're muted, Paul.
There you go.
Hello, how are you doing?
Yeah, it's really a shame. Jiminy says that this is the snowiest year they've had in years, and their capacity is limited to 50%.
Yeah.
I gotta get rid of this.
So how's Paul doing these days? Pretty good? Maybe I didn't get through.
Not bad, Al. How are you?
I'm doing. I'm holed up like everyone else. I'm afraid we're going to be wearing masks probably almost until next winter, the way it looks to me.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a way of life for all of us.
Oh, I think you could be. I think you're correct about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. How did the sale of town-owned property go?
Went very well. We made $164,000. We sold every one of them.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Your voice is coming in kind of strange, Paul. I don't know what happened. It was like reverberating or something. I'm not sure.
Okay, let me see. I'll sign out and sign back in.
Okay.
Where is Neil these days? Is he in Florida yet, or is he still here?
Who's that?
Neil.
He's still here. He goes to Florida on the 26th. So he'll be in Florida the whole month of March.
Danielle, we can hear you but not see you.
There you
Oh,
go.
you are. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
We may have to close my video again. My internet is being
Shaky.
extremely temperamental today.
Okay.
We did just have Spectrum reset my signal, so I'm hoping that will work well. Otherwise, I'll use my phone as a hotspot. We'll just switch over.
There you go. Yeah, we saw the Spectrum truck here on Friday night about 5:30 and 6 o'clock. He had cut the wires and dropped the whole neighborhood.
Uh-oh.
Hi, Roger.
You're muted.
I'll unmute to say hi, everyone.
Hi, Raj.
Sir.
Now I'm
Hi,
gonna,
Pat.
How do? So will we have Neil with us tonight? I believe so.
Yep.
I think he's
Okay.
down in Florida, isn't he?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
He goes on the 26th.
February.
Yes. And then he should be back at the beginning of April.
Roger,
I was
know,
just,
Roger, that Neil's gonna be in Florida. Do you wanna meet at the town hall via Zoom that way there? They have a pretty good system. Remember we tried it out? Would you
I'll
like to
tell
do
you-
that?
I tell you, Al, I did a look ahead in the weather for maple syrup purposes. And it's gonna be just like being in Florida for the next 2 weeks, right here in the Berkshires.
Isn't it something?
Yeah.
Maybe a short and quick season. I'm not sure.
Well, I'm gonna put my taps in on Friday, so
Well,
I
mine
think I think I'm gonna be pretty busy right after they go in.
No, that's true. Whatever you wish. It doesn't matter to me.
How did your lines freeze up?
No, there was no sap running at all, so it didn't really bother me at all.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's gonna start running.
I ran today. I chopped out tanks today. It started running a little bit. I'm surprised
Yeah.
it didn't go more than it did, but it was slow going for some reason.
Well,
Maybe the trees aren't used to being over with winter yet. I'm not sure.
I won't
There's
know.
all.
I won't know until Friday. That's when my tap help arrives.
Well, I've got about 1 minute. I'm trying to figure out, am I supposed to open this meeting or is someone else going to do that?
It's
This is
usually
a-
Bob.
Bob, yes.
You could probably open it with the reading, being
that.
that it's
I don't-
5 o'clock.
I don't see Bob in sight yet. It's just about 5 o'clock, but why don't we wait a minute or two and see if others want to sign on?
I don't see Bob or Neil.
Or Pat Callahan.
Pat's on.
Pat's here. I'm on mute,
Hi,
but I'm
Pat.
here. Hi, Steve. But how about Bob Yodelman? Is he coming?
I sent out the emails to everybody. I don't know.
So we're missing.
I'll look out my window and see if he's,
A couple of minutes and I'll read the governor's proclamation.
You have it on the agenda you want to read or no? Do you want me to pull it up?
Can if you want, yeah, that would work. I've got it here. I've got it right here, Danielle. So
Okay.
I can just read it off the paper. It's probably easier for me. Well, I'm waiting a couple more minutes.
Do
I
you
don't
want
see
me
anyone
to,
else.
should we send, do you want me to send Bob an email? Oh, there he is.
Bob is here.
Yeah, that's good. He's important to this.
Bob, you're on audio, but you're not signed on audio yet. I can see.
Bob Udelman will
said-
be on in a second. He's banging on his computer keys now.
Okay, I'm here. I'm going to bang on my computer keys for a moment.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to try and hook it up to my headphones.
John, I have the proclamation from the governor in here. Would you like me to read that, or do you want to do it? It doesn't matter to me either way.
Is it? It's not time yet, is it?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
We
Neil's
have
here.
everyone. We have everyone here.
I think so.
I would say start reading.
All
All
right.
right, here we are. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Paragraph 20, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Richmond Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website at richmondmass.org. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen, watch the meeting may do so by logging on to Zoom. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the city town's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive recording of the proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Done. All right.
Getting
So,
good at it, Alan, really.
It sounds like Bob's start. I think Bob is froze up, it looks like to me. Huh. Yeah,
There he is.
Here he is.
No?
Yep, he's there.
I can't hear a thing, so I'm trying to fix that problem.
We can hear you.
You know, sometimes, I know sometimes the only way to fix it is to go out and come back in again. I don't know if anybody else has experienced that. Yep. That's what he's doing.
that's what he's doing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Wait.
Dad, should I leave too?
Looks like he's coming back in.
Looks good.
All right, I had to shut it down and I had to shut down and start again. I don't know. I was on a Zoom call this morning. It went fine. I just have real trouble with this town system. That doesn't make sense to me. Okay. So We have everyone here. And I missed you reading the governor's proclamation, but I assume that's all you've done so far.
That's it, Bob. Yep, that's all.
And then you were turning it over to me, I suppose?
Yes, I was.
Okay. All right. Well, then I will quickly turn it over to Danielle, who put together an agenda for tonight and sent out the material. And I don't know what the plan is for this evening. Is it true that we have until 6 o'clock when the selectmen are meeting?
We
Otherwise?
do. Yep,
Okay.
we do. But that meeting is actually a different link. So we will all have to log out and log back into that separate link. It is separate, just so you know.
Yeah, okay. But the Budget Advisory Committee is till 6 o'clock.
That's the plan.
Okay.
Yep.
Works for me.
Okay. So what I sent you is obviously the very, very rough draft of our first budget. I just met with Peter Dillon and Sharon Harrison yesterday. You got a PDF version of their budget in your attachments. They show a 13.6% increase, but where that is actually different is on the spreadsheets that we have under warrant articles. That shows an 11.6% increase. And what we did was at the special town meeting, we raised $50,000 on the tax rolls as part of the school budget. So I added 50,000 into that so that you could actually see the real difference. But if you actually put the full sped cost in there, which was $240,000, just gonna do it for you. Their total budget is actually only increasing 6.4% from last year's budget.
So Danielle, is the offset that we're supposed to get from the state, is that already built into their budget?
It is built into their budget.
That's what I thought,
yes.
but I was making
Yep.
sure, okay.
When you,
So it's about 175,000 this year instead of the 240.
when you use the word 6 point something percent, you shouldn't precede it with only.
You're right. I apologize for that. It is 6.4%, which is a significant number.
Yes.
The total town budget is only going up 1.6.
Again, only is not,
I'm gonna be stuck that way.
you never use only
Never use only. I
When
will
it-
do
when
my
there's a-
very best.
when there's a dollar sign in the sentence.
Gotcha.
So how did you get to the 6%? I did it quickly earlier today and I had an 8%.
So what I did was I took their last year's budget
Yeah,
amount, which was the 3,638,244,
right.
and I added $240,000 to that.
Okay,
And that number, the two added into that, compared to their new number of 4,124,998, the difference is a 6.4%, or
Okay.
246,754.
so that's giving them the credit for the amount being reimbursed for the state built into this budget. As the way I looked at it is I subtracted the 175,000 that is in this budget for the SPED student that wasn't in last year's budget. So
You
if
could do that, but in all actuality, it was in last year's budget. It was just added later.
it wasn't in the budget that is presented here.
Correct, which is why
It's not in the 3638. So
no,
to-
that 3,638 that you see had the 50,000 added to it, which was the tax base.
I understand, but listen to how I'm looking at it.
Oh, I
Okay,
understand. I got you. Yep.
okay, so you take the 486,753, you subtract the $175,000 for the SPED student. And what do you get? 486,753.
I don't know where you guys are pulling these numbers from, but
All right, well, in
I'm
any
looking at
event,
I'm looking at the sheet that was that I printed out, which is the one that was sent. And I see,
School, look at
Yeah.
the school budget.
yeah, and I see a grand total of 4063 and more.
463. Okay, well, and for the 21.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the bottom line, the 3638, that's the town appropriation request. Right?
Okay,
You see that one?
yeah, for fiscal 21.
21, right. And the 22 has $175,000 built into it for this sped student. So in order to compare apples to apples, I'm taking the 175,000 out of that so we can see what the school budget standing alone increased.
But you can't do it that way. You can't do it that way because we added in that extra amount of money for that.
It's not in anywhere. Where is it in?
So
In-
it's in, if you go to the articles that I sent out, after we had added the $50,000 to the tax base for the school budget.
So only 50,000 was added, right?
On the article sheet, correct.
Right.
And that's because it was the tax base that was added so that you
Okay.
can
The
compare
rest
it a
of it
little
was
better.
the rest of it was taken out of
The
stabilization.
rest of it
and
was
unassigned, right.
stabilization, 190,000.
I understand all of that. I'm trying to isolate the increase in the school-only budget without the impact of the sped student.
Yes, but in order to do that, you have to add in the amount that the sped was last year.
No, another way of doing it
Is to take the one-
175 out. And when you take the 175 out, you get an increase of $311,754 from 21 to 22.
Maybe I don't understand the 175 number at all. I mean,
Well,
let's-
That's
a
the
lot.
new number for the sped student. All
That's
right,
a
Bob,
lot.
yes, I have your same number, 311,754.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
And if
yep.
you find that increase, it's 8.5%, 8.6%.
Yes,
So their year over year ordinary regular operating budget, irregardless of the sped student, is currently showing an increase of 8.6%.
I don't see where the sped of 175 is in that $4 million number.
It's in the school
page-
tuition section, Roger.
Page 3.
Yeah, it's in the tuition section. It's not in the sped section. You see it on the third page, in the middle of the third page,
Yeah.
under
Oh,
total
I-
tuition. See it?
Okay, I do. I see it now. Thank you.
Well, anyway, I didn't intend to get this far into the weeds on that, but I did want to correct our understanding of how much the school operating budget has increased. It is 8.6%, not 6%.
no,
would say
so
Bob-
when we redo that, when we have the conversations with Sharon, I'll have to have her explain that because she did the 6% and I got to her 6%, but I also got to your 8%.
Right,
So
well,
we'll just have to figure out that one, so.
I can see how you can get to a 6%. But what happens is if you put the amount in for the sped student in the FY 21 budget, you're giving them credit for the reduction from whatever it was, 250 down to 175, that they can then use to spend somewhere else. I want to isolate the sped student out of this whole thing so that we can focus on what their increases are in the school budget.
I agree with that, Bob.
Mhm.
That's only isolating one sped student. There are other special ed needs in other parts of the budget.
Sure. And I'm not taking those out. It's just this one residential sped student that came to us in 21 through a special town meeting. And we can eventually incorporate it into the budget, and I would recommend that we do that, but I don't want to distort the rest of the school budget by that number.
Well, next year it'll be in the base as the run rate, the 175, because that's the net number, right, Danielle? After the reimbursement. So next year it's there.
Right.
No, all Bob is saying is that if you eliminate all of the expenditures and income for this particular student, they're actually increasing their budget by
No,
over
I
8%.
understand what you're saying.
Mhm.
So,
I agree with Bob's approach. I mean, we're not taking it out like totally. We're just taking it out temporarily so we can see how the budget is changing without it. And then
right,
at the end, we'll put it back in.
correct. And we can put it in both columns, I'm fine with that too.
I think that's a good approach. That way we're being more, we can hold the line better, I think, on the operational costs.
So in your articles, when I send this back out, what I did was I took the original 3638 number for FY21. And then for FY22, I have their 4 million number minus the 175,000. So it'll show the Bob's number of the 8.6%, 311,754.
And again, that's just temporarily. It's
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Correct.
Analyze and make final changes. But if we're done talking about that, I'd just like to comment on the 175. I was kind of surprised when I saw the number that large. I was thinking we were in the neighborhood of 140. And,
No, the total cost for that student is $240,000.
and I thought there was a significant, 60% reimbursement expected there.
So you are responsible for a certain dollar amount, and I can't remember the exact dollar amount. Sharon can explain that to you. I think it may be $40,000 that you're automatically responsible for. So you would take the $40,000 and you would subtract it from the 240, and then you would do 60% of the 200, which then is what you would be able to get reimbursed by.
So it's two steps.
So the 60% of the 200 would be 120,000, right?
Yeah. But like I said, I don't know enough about the circuit breaker to know the exact. So
Right.
Sharon's gonna have to explain those all to you because
Okay.
it could have also increased. I don't know what the costs are.
But that's what I was thinking. It must have increased.
Could be.
Because I could not come up with that number. So yes, we'll wait to hear from Sharon. And do we have, I'll let you continue. Go ahead.
So I don't know how you want to go forward. Do you want to do a quick run through of where we're at, or?
Well, there's a
Guys
couple
wanna-
big hitters there.
Sure.
Are we going to stay on the school budget for the moment or?
Yes.
Good.
It looks like there's a pretty big hitter there of $12,000 increase for the superintendent. That's a 25% increase.
I would presume that, I don't know this for a fact, but that Dewey signed a new agreement with Berkshire Hills. Is that true? Does anyone
Yes.
know? He did. Okay, so this is probably a contractual amount.
It is, it's a 3-year contract, which was the deal that they negotiated to extend 3 years on a shared services. And the allocated cost from Berkshire Hills was this number, plus 12,000.
Okay, so there are certain things we have no control over.
So can-
Mark that down as one of them.
So one of the other biggest expense increases here, if you go back to that the tuition accounts, you got the 175, but there's also, and there's always ins and outs, but there's also a big increase from Monument. So do we just have more kids? Because that's 2% right there of the 8. It's like 35,000 a percent, right? So I mean, that's not controllable either, is it? And kids we must have had a big 8th grade class or something. I don't know. Dewey would have to explain it, or Peter, but.
Well, we
Right.
have to figure out, it could be kids move from one school to another.
Yeah, but
and
there's nobody going down. I
Nobody
mean,
going down? Yeah. then
yeah, I mean, a little bit, right? But it
Well,
looks like maybe we just got more kids, and that's of the 8%, that's 78,000, like 2 right there.
Yeah,
It's possible that they've also renegotiated a tuition arrangement. I don't know.
Well, maybe,
the
yeah,
answer.
no, I don't,
So-
yeah,
So I
but
guess.
that's,
We'll
but it's
have
a
to
big,
ask
big
them some of these
number there,
questions. Yeah,
Yeah.
so is the sped transportation a big number?
right?
And maintenance of grounds. There's maintenance of grounds 200% up.
Well, yeah. Yes. Yeah, there's a lot here to be concerned about. But I don't think there's anyone here who can answer any questions. We could point out issues. But we may have to wait until we invite the school committee to present this budget.
Yeah, because like I said, I just met with them yesterday afternoon.
Danielle, how do they describe where they are in this process? Is this done? Where do they?
No, they have one more draft that they're working on with the school committee. And then they'll be ready to present to us on the 10th of March.
March.
This is a draft. Yep, it's not done yet. They have one more round to talk to the school committee to see if they could potentially lower anything else. And then they'll be ready to present on the 10th.
Okay, well, from my perspective, if they get back in touch with you, you could let them know that I have some heartburn with this number. So perhaps they really
They're aware.
Okay.
Don't share that burden of heartburn alone, Bob. I have heartburn with this. And in the times we're in, an 8% increase is really tough to swallow.
Have we seen any of the other town school budgets published yet? I haven't seen anything in the press myself.
Danielle can probably corroborate this, but I saw an article somewhere in the paper recently about Lee was looking at 3%. Is that true?
Yes.
I thought I saw that Great Barrington had a 5.6%.
True. One of the things is those school districts, I'm not saying that it makes it any better, but those school districts are significantly larger. So a 3% increase in Lee and a 5% increase in Great Barrington are millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Whereas an 8% increase is $311,000 here, which is not insignificant, but at the same time, it's hard to compare percentages to other school districts when they're much larger.
Well, I hate to disagree with the best town administrator we've ever had, but the reason you do things in percentages is to that kind of normalizes things, and it gives you a real measure. So you can compare Lee's 3% to Great Barrington's 5% to our 8%. That's why you use percentages as opposed to
Wrong number.
themselves. That's
The other
the
question I have,
mathematical explanation for percentages.
the other
I like
question
it.
I had, Danielle, we had given some capital money to the school to fix their heating system.
Yep.
And it didn't look like it was impacting their fuel costs.
So I don't know where they stand on that one.
So you don't
I-
think they've fully implemented it?
I don't think they have. I'm really not sure. It was at the end of December when I finally got word of the work to be started. So we did get an RFP. We did do 3 quotes. We did get everything set that we could do. And they had who we needed. I think we went out to bid actually. And they had what we needed and we awarded it. But I'm not, I've had trouble getting through with the school to get updates on where we stand with that. I have been waiting for about 4 months now for information so that we can get the attic insulated with a Green Communities grant, which will also help with cost savings. So I'm kind of stuck there. So, and I'm not sure if the heating system was actually updated the way we had planned to do it.
I'll tell you a big concern I have is this is going to be at the same annual town meeting that we're going to be asking for approval to bond a new town hall, library, community center, community building. And this could be a game changer for that being approved. If we actually propose an 8% or any number greater than a couple percent on a school budget. So I think we're gonna have to play real hardball with the school.
You know, Roger, I'm looking at it in terms of where's the 8%? And it's like 2 are in those high school numbers. 1 is in sped transportation. 1 is in sped teachers. So it's like sped, like the whole school is sped. It's incredible. And I realize I don't know anything about being in a school, but it's a very difficult deal here. So half of it is right there, right? Never
Yeah.
mind the 175. And then you've got the standard contract increase for the teachers. That's 2, 3, and there you go.
Well,
That's, you know, it's not this, it's not the little ups and downs. It's right. I'm sorry.
You're right, Pat. However, the townspeople are just gonna see that increase.
No,
come
I get it.
at the
I
same time we're asking for.
the
other
first thing I said is, oh my God, they want as much as we want for the whole bond thing. This
Yeah,
is gonna be
exactly.
for an increase.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
So right now, I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, but if you looked at your summary budget, you're looking at about $1.40 increase in taxes,
I didn't look in great detail.
11%.
I didn't look in great detail at this, but can you just generally explain how we handled some of the things that we trimmed last year? Have we moved them back up to where they were the year before, or,
We've moved some of them up, not to the level they were.
okay,
So the money for enterprise shortfall, we didn't have anything there. I added 3,500 in for that, but that's free cash.
okay.
Do you want to go over the free cash? Or you just want to go over the ones that we lowered in that hit the tax rate?
I think we should just focus on some of the heavy hitters and just see, for example, the school bond number. Are you keeping that in the budget?
The school
Yeah,
bond?
I wanted
there-
to talk about that too. Now, that was taken out, but a new bond payment was put in at 308,000 as raise and appropriate.
Yep.
And that, I looked through my debt service schedule, and the 308 really doesn't kick in
Right.
for a number of years. In the one I'm looking at, it was 308 came in, or it was actually 310, but we average it to be 308. But it doesn't come in until FY, on this schedule, it would be FY 23. So
Okay. I just
So
need
there
to
will be
update that
a
extra one,
cost
'cause-
next year, right? But it's not nearly that high, assuming that
Okay.
we're on the schedule.
well, the
That we're
debt
on.
service schedule showed
I don't have-
borrowing on a short-term basis, like $500,000. So borrowing that and paying that back with the proceeds of the long-term bond issue. So it would be interest only on that. So I think we have to kind of stay flexible until we're able to get more details on the financing for this.
Right, so I don't think that you guys have actually made a formal decision on how you want to go out for bonding, have you?
No, we haven't. We haven't
Right, so
talked
once
about
we
it.
make that decision, because we can have, David has offered to join any Zoom meeting to give us more up-to-date information on bonding choices. And so once we go from there, we'll have a better idea of how much money we would need to put in for that
Right,
pool bond.
but I guess I would be surprised if there's any debt service, any significant debt service in FY '22.
I guess my point is, I don't want to see us have a large negative in debt service of like 150 to go to 0, and then in the following
Right.
year to go to 300. I'd rather figure out how we can apply that towards our new debt service at a future time.
Right, so that,
Smooth that out somehow.
as I mentioned at the last municipal committee meeting, that I would suggest that we take $150,000, which is about the amount of the school bond, and put it into the stabilization fund.
Sounds reasonable.
Yeah,
And
and then
that-
the next year, the increase would be the 150 increase would kick in, so we'd be,
Right,
Yeah. right.
Now, on any of these bonding that we get for this new facility, is there any prepayment penalties in any of that payment schedule?
I don't recall specifically. However, if we're able to borrow at 2.4%, why would we want to? Unless you're thinking of,
I'm thinking of somebody making a sizable contribution.
okay, that's the only reason I could think of to do that, but we can clarify that.
My recollection of that conversation is that there were in the early years, but in the out years, there weren't. So yeah, maybe I'm wrong about that, but that's what I was thinking I remembered from that conversation with the bonding.
Well, I just want to make sure that when we do that bonding, that we're not penalized for prepayment any sooner than we have to be.
Well, it may be set up, some bonds are set up with different call provisions. Like there's a 10-year call provision. You can't pay any of it back before 10 years because an investor who's investing in this wants at least that level of return. So it may be 10 years. But anyone contributing to the project, perhaps their funds could be kept with
Invested.
the friends.
Well,
Yeah,
I know when we bonded the school, it was very significant in our 10th year that we were able to, reapply monies to it to reduce the debt service. I mean,
Right.
we saved like a couple, well over $1 million in debt.
right. So
by-
that's the 10-year call provision. You can't do anything for 10 years.
Okay. All right.
But if there is a generous contribution to the town, that perhaps it can be structured in such a way as that contribution could be used to pay the debt service. There are different ways to
Yes.
skin the cat.
Yeah.
So Danielle, I would suggest that you take the 308 out of the new town hall bond and put 150 in to stabilization in the articles
With a note there.
with a note, right?
So I did that.
Okay.
Okay, what some of the other big hitters that we eliminated last year was the payment to the
OPEB.
what
The
is it called?
OPEB, the OPEB,
OPEB.
yeah.
Yeah, OPEB. Yeah, and we said we'll address that again, but I think what we do there might be a strong function of what we're unable to do with the school. So we gotta, I think that can be
The
later.
OPEB is with free cash as well, though.
That's what it's how you're currently showing it.
Yep.
Okay, can we go to the article page where you have free cash listed down below? You say total free cash FY 20. So that
It
has
should be
been,
FY 21, sorry.
that's all, I was just clarifying that. Okay, and so did we use some of the free cash for the sped tuition, special sped tuition?
No, it
No.
was stabilization, right?
It
You
was
used
all
it out of
stabilization?
stabilization, which is why your sort of stabilization is down to 363,
Right.
435.
Okay, so it was all stabilization. So this is a good number for free cash for FY 21.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and the totals of everything labeled FC are 26.8, leaving $141 even in free cash.
Correct.
And then there would be the free cash generated in the current year, right? If there is any.
Well, when you recertify your free cash next fall,
Yes,
you would get more, yeah.
right, okay.
Which is when the money that Paul was just talking about for the sales would actually, you would benefit from that.
From property sales? Is that what you said?
The auction sales, yeah.
So
Mhm.
does that go to free cash or does it go into stabilization? Be great to be able to put more back into stabilization, right?
Well, you could vote it in after
Uh-huh.
at next year's town meeting.
Okay,
By the sales rules and everything, it goes into free cash,
I
correct?
see. Okay.
I think Paul's head is just going in a vertical direction, so
So
I
it will
interpret that as a yes.
Yes.
And yes, Pat, we can transfer it.
Yeah, you could vote to transfer free cash into stabilization like you did last year to build it back up.
Right. Well, and we'll put the 150 in there too, so that'll help, right? That'll go to stabilization, right?
So that would be a raise and appropriate 150,000 into stabilization, correct?
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So just so you know, so where that'll then come back out is it'll no longer be a debt exclusion. So on your summary page, you'll take that 300,000 out completely, which then the 150 does go towards your levy. You just have to keep that into consideration.
yeah, I wanted to ask about that too. You had the 308 in as raise and appropriate. Did you consider it that it would be debt exclusion?
Yep.
Okay, so
But
our,
now I took it out.
right, so our excess levy capacity would be $1,000, basically.
Yep. Basically, that's where you're at.
Yeah,
Pretty thin.
Well, I got you at 9,000. But I've been changing a whole lot of numbers and trying not to
Right.
mess with my formulas on the fly here. So,
right, yeah, please don't. Okay, well, perhaps in the time we have left, can we talk about next steps here, next meetings, who we're going to invite in to speak with us?
yep.
I think Danielle requested that we return our books to the town hall. I think we should all make a commitment to get our books returned to the town hall.
Most people did. We
Okay.
have the books that are just about ready so that you guys can start picking them up next week.
Okay,
So then you'll have your books to be able to review.
okay.
So we're almost done there. So obviously we're going to meet with the school, which is March 10th.
Hold on, I'll write that down.
Yeah.
School.
I'm not sure if we want to do start earlier than 5. We have a special permit that we have to hear as the selectmen's meeting at 6 on March 10th. So
We
I
could meet
think-
5:30 or 4:30 or 4 o'clock.
Yeah, I think the school has, yeah, I agree. We should try to meet earlier, but I think the school may have a say in that.
Do you want to try 4:30?
Yes,
4:30 on the 10th work for everybody?
Yes,
Yes.
Yeah.
as long as it works for the town or the school committee.
Okay.
And what else? Anything else scheduled?
I don't have anybody else scheduled. I don't know where else you want to go for meeting purposes. Let me just try to pull this up real
So are
quick.
there there's no trucks or
Yeah,
plows?
There are two capital expenses. We're taking out of free cash. We have a new dump
Oh,
truck
the
that
dump
we
truck.
need.
Yeah.
Yep, and that truck is completely rotting out in the backside, so the gearbox is gone. The other thing that we need is a new fire chief car. That is $50,000, but we are splitting the cost with West Stockbridge, so it's 25. So those are the two capital requests that I have at the moment.
So,
What's happening with the town garage?
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, last year, didn't we have a request for a study to replace the building, or the footings were rotting out or something?
You just had money in there to replace the walls that were rotting out, and that was already completed.
there was money, like 10,000 to do a study. And I said, no, we're not gonna do a $10,000 study. We're gonna get a quote to have somebody fix it.
Fix it.
They
And
came and they fixed it for like $10,000. And
so
so
that's
that's
off
behind
the
us.
table at the moment.
that's fixed. That
Okay.
Yep.
problem.
So,
with
so the
wall
walls
fixed.
that were caving in and falling apart and rotted out have been fixed.
Okay.
Right.
We did have, we decided to put it on hold just because of the way the budget is right now. What we were looking at is to redoing the garage doors on the red garage that's down at the highway garage
Mhm.
to make it bigger so that we can fit the grader inside, because we just don't have the space for all the equipment to make sure the trucks fit. It just doesn't work. But that is close to about $15,000, which we don't have right now. So we're working on a couple more quotes to see what that would be, and that's probably going to be a next year, not this year.
I thought the reason we put a west door on the town barn across the street was so we could put long equipments in there, like the grader from the west.
So it is, but we also need to be able to fit the dump trucks in there. So we have two dump trucks that are across the street that can go all the way back, and the doors close almost all the way as long as the plows are off. So right now the grader is in the garage building, while those two pieces of equipment stay inside on the other side because they don't fit in the current garage. So the doors would go on the garage where we have the council on aging van,
Okay.
which would increase our storage there, because there's not much more location to put anything with the new fire department building that's going to go right there as well. So
Danielle, in the past, you had always given us a copy of the expense report, or, where we stand in terms of expenditures against the budget. Are we going to get that again this year?
what are you looking for? I'm sorry, you were breaking up. What are you looking for?
The expense report, the expenditures against the appropriations.
Yep. We're having Angela just do one last warrant, then we're going to put that in the front of your books for you so you can see that
Okay,
too.
good.
There is another spreadsheet, not a spreadsheet, it's a SoftWrite report that we're working on getting you that will show you the revenues versus the expenditures. So we're working on trying to get that for you as well.
Thank you.
that somewhat relates to a question I had on the receipts
Then
section.
let's
here.
see, so the library.
Danielle, we lost you.
Usually we meet with $1,907.
Yeah.
Okay, are we back
Can you
with
hear me
Danielle?
now?
Can hear
Yes.
you, yeah?
Can you hear me without my
Yes.
video? Okay.
Yes.
Hear you, but we missed the last few sentences.
Okay, so we usually meet with the library. They have a 3% increase, which is $1,900. They're not looking for a larger increase like they were last year. I'm not sure if you want to meet with them.
Uh,
Is there any, I'll just raise it as a question. I haven't got a preference myself. Is there any reason to meet with them in terms of preparing for the town meeting where the whole building is going to come up?
Well, we have the municipal building committee meetings
No,
constantly, right? And they're there. Kristen's on the committee and the three trustees, Catherine's on the committee and the other two trustees often attend.
wasn't sure whether there was anything that the budget committee might be asked to say with reference to controlling expenses or something like that in connection with it. That was the only question. It was a question, not a position.
I think what we can do, if their increase is 3%, I think we can put them later is a meet if necessary.
Yeah, it's only
Okay.
2.4% actually, so it's,
Did you say only?
yeah, sorry. If it's
It's
under
not
3%,
just
it's
me.
not freaking only.
It's just a habit. I'm trying to
No,
get.
I got it.
I'm trying to get all budget people into that habit because I'll tell you, townspeople hear that and they go high order.
And we know what happens when that happens.
Yes, it typically just gets ugly for no reason.
There is another line item that increased by $5,000. It is the town building maintenance. I would like to change that name to town facility maintenance and add $5,000 to it. We are required to recap the landfill and to maintain it as cut down. And we don't have the current equipment to be able to make that happen. So we have to rent equipment in order to be able to do that twice a year to continue with the maintenance. And we have to start cleaning the large amounts of rubbish. So that is built into the budget in the town hall, and I mean, in the town facility maintenance line. The other item that has to do with the landfill that I have on your articles page is a $15,000, which I'm working on getting quotes for. I have to wait for Dan Hall from the state to get back to me so that he can come back and tell me exactly where to put the wells and how many I need so that I can get quotes from companies. We have to install minimum 4 wells for monitoring into the landfill. And then we have to continue working to recapping it. The one thing that they are willing to do is to work with us so that any road work or ditching projects that we do, we can take fill and put over at the landfill so that we can start to use that as well. One of the biggest costs right now is going to be removing all the tires.
Didn't we use the neighboring wells at one time to monitor the landfill?
We did a
brilliant.
test. It wasn't used to do the landfill monitoring. They did it once to double check. The state strongly discourages towns from doing that because there is no way of knowing if any contamination from people's wells is actually coming from the landfill. It could be coming from anything. So the state is currently doing a project with a bunch of Massachusetts towns who have no public water system, that 90% of their communities are on private wells. They're going around and sampling wells throughout the town and near the landfill. And then what they have found and if we have to do more testing. But that is at no cost to us right now. But we did add $2,000 into the Board of Health budget in case we have to do more of them. Because we do have a couple of residents who have requested to have their wells tested because they were not done in the first round.
So here's another question.
Did
If,
you guys catch that? I'm like jumping here.
We heard you.
so if the bond
Okay.
does get approved, we've still got to live in the town hall for, 18 months to 2 years, right? By the time we bid it and build it. So, are there, the town hall just looks sadder and sadder every time you look at it. Is there anything that's going to be essential that we need to think about there to keep it healthy for the employees? I don't know.
Well,
And
you
that's
have
that's
the,
if the bond gets approved. If it doesn't, we need a whole plan B, right? So
yeah, so we have to we have to fix our sewers,
yeah, the
our
sewer.
sewer pipe. The problem with that is in order to do that, they have to dig up the floor completely and replace the line. And so if we do that, it's going to trigger the ADA compliant threshold.
Oh dear.
It's going to be too much. So we're kind of, we're in a bad situation there no matter what. So I hid all the soft toilet paper today, so nobody will use soft, thick toilet paper.
Well, that's really
just-
comforting.
Yeah, I mean, shift to bamboo. Dissolves faster. Yeah, well, that's what I was worried about was, you're sitting there and we got potentially 2 years and, just, we don't have any money in town hall repair funds here, so.
Well, triggering ADA would cost us, what, $2.8 million or something. So
Correct.
we don't want that to happen.
I think we need to start wrapping this up.
We're gonna watch our
Yeah,
time.
let me
Watch
just-
our time.
Let me just add a request. Steve asked for an actual versus budget financial report. I would like to make my annual request for a working trial balance. I've been asking for that for probably 5 years and I probably got it once or twice. But I would like to see a working trial balance, at least for myself. I don't know if anyone else is interested in it, but it would be complete assets, liabilities, and receipts and expenditures. So Danielle, if
Okay.
you could follow up with Paul or Angela, whoever might provide that. And just just a quick question about the receipts report that you put here. Did you, I know we had budgeted for reduced receipts from the state, and fortunately it didn't happen, but when you re-budgeted FY22, did you budget back up to what the state has provided us, or did you stick with the reduced amounts from 2021?
So right now I have in what the state is showing us right now, and really mainly because the estimates are 1% increase in a couple of places and they're actually lower in a couple other places. So there's no significant increases anywhere, which they had last year. So I have kept them as is right now. It is really quiet chatter-wise right now with towns as to what we could be possibly anticipating. So currently the state budget cherry sheets are what was proposed.
Okay, but I understand that completely. We reduced unrestricted aid and one other thing by 10 or 15%.
Yeah, so what you have in there is actuals
Okay,
for
so
FY21.
we're mixing and matching actual receipts with budgeted expenditures here for 21, right?
So on your cherry sheet, the FY21 is what the actuals were from the cherry sheet, and the FY22 estimates are the estimates, yes.
I understand that, but, okay, so it's not for cherry sheet receipts, it's not budget 21 to new budget 22. It's revised based on actual reporting from the state for 21 and
Correct.
budgeted for 22. Okay, I just needed to understand that.
And estimates for 22, yeah.
Okay, so
Correct.
back to, I don't know that we've resolved who else we might like to meet with. Do we need to have the highway department come in and the fire chief? Those are two we've typically visited with. Any thoughts?
There's not much change, right? I mean, unless we got the dump truck, but there isn't a lot of a lot of capital.
No, both of them are pretty minimal. I didn't use a number. They're pretty minimal at the moment. I don't foresee any other changes that are going to be added in there. There is a maintenance increase in the fire department budget, but there's not a large increase there, only because we reduced it in another line. And we did that same thing with highway. We reduced a couple lines and increased others to make it so that we could have a minimal increase on the budget.
I just want to point out, we have about 2 minutes to go to the next meeting.
And I just want to make one more comment. Generally, Paul has some pretty good insight and recommendations on the budget. I'd like you to, have eyes on it and make recommendations as I encourage you, as you
Kevin,
normally.
there was just two items I'd like to bring up. So in regards to Bob's point about the school budget, I just want to bring to light to Bob, I sent him an email about this just a minute ago, that the school health insurance costs are actually only quantifying 11 months, as Maya is giving the town a 1 month holiday due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So to get to the true figure of increase of the school, you'd have to add back in $43,510 of health insurance to the health insurance line item. And that would increase the 8.6% to whatever the new figure is. And I don't have that right here. I just wanted to tell Bob that. And the second part that I would like to add is just that the importance of contributing to OPEB for the fact, two ways. It meets your requirement of the OPEB requirements for future retirees' health insurance costs, but also the Standard & Poor's and the rating agencies, when you're going out to borrow, like to see that you're regularly contributing to OPEB. It's one of the things that they look at greatly.
And that's in here, funded from free cash for $35,000. Remind me
Yes,
what
I
we,
put money back in there.
We were doing
Well,
100,000.
we're doing
Correct.
100.
We were
Yeah.
doing 100,000 usually, yes.
Okay, those are good inputs, Paul. I think Neil's right. We got a book.
Yeah,
Okay, and when is our next meeting?
March 10th.
It is the 10th with the school committee. Okay, and
Yep.
then,
And we said 4:30.
we will decide at that meeting where to go after that. How often? Is that correct?
We have a couple on the calendar already.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
we
then
do.
the 24th, and then you have the
24th.
24th.
Okay, let's not go over that now. I moved it, we adjourned so we can not be late for our BOS meeting.
a second.
Third.
Okay,
Okay.
All those in favor? Bye-bye.
All right, we're going.
bye.
Thank you.